Okay, thank you very much. My heartfelt thanks to the coach and the Right Conference team for giving me this opportunity. And I'm very excited to be delivering this presentation, which is titled as Connecting and Empowering Pieces of Digital Selves Through Teacher Sense of Plausibility. So, what are we trying to do here? What pieces of digital selves and what is TSOP will be my major motivation to sort of uncover or unveil throughout this presentation. So I'll begin by establishing some basis and thinking aloud together around what has been happening around teachers and digital education lately. So, a few of my observations were that there is an abundance of courses like this, which teachers can freely uh, take to improve their digital literacy and competencies. Some of these courses are self-paced, some of these are graded, and they also vary differently, right? Then, other than that, we also see a resurgence of different seminars by different ministries or different companies or different other organizations, which teachers are also able to take up and improve onto their digital pedagogical knowledge. Then we also see some government coming up with digital action plans where they are with informed research and as well as these handbooks giving case studies and also telling what teachers needs to do to build up certain skills and also the school systems as well. Lastly, within the schools also we see different sort of schemes coming in. For example, in Indian context, there is a scheme called Swayam or Nishtha Online, which gives teachers some resources to be able to use in the classrooms. So we see a lot is happening, right? And but then where do teacher cognition fits in? What does the existing research says? Let's try to think about that. So great teachers are doing these courses. Great, we are publishing a lot of research around digital education and teacher education, teacher training, or teacher cognitions as well. So, one of my observations while sort of reviewing literature around cognition as well as digital education was that most of the studies has been around beliefs, knowledge, attitudes, assumptions of the teachers, either regarding specific tools or regarding specific digital education schemes. And there was an interesting observation in terms of, I was wondering that there were not many studies in the recent times regarding teacher cognition and digital education, with especially with the resurgence of so much technology around. Rather, what I felt was pre-pandemic, there were a lot of studies that were happening around teacher education as well, teacher cognition as well as digital technologies. So few of the common themes that we see are these which Walizadeh and Shaman Nasil sort of presents to us. Other than that, we also see theoretical investments in terms of these frameworks, whether TPAC or the technology acceptance model. They are very well known, have been replicated since ages, and have been working, and several researchers has been just coming around them. Finally, few of the studies, the recent ones that I found around cognition, let us see what they are telling about digital technology or the digital self of the teachers, or what are the areas that they are focusing. For example, Lee into 2023's examining student teachers' knowledge, understanding, and perceptions of technology, technology enhanced assessment. Then Horman and his colleagues are looking at how teachers are they actually willing to use technology, are they able to own, and finding out, at least in the Austrian context, that teachers are owning up their technology use, but as well as also highlighting how they want technological exposure or CPD opportunities to be more flexible for them. Then Wagner and his colleagues are saying that are also raising about the different challenges that teachers face while implementing TPAC model. Later on, we see that in 25 we are looking at how TPAC model is also used to teach Mandarin with technology, and we are also seeing how different sort of influences, or there's an interest into looking at what decisions do teachers make, pedagogical decisions, their professional identities, how do they process information that we supply as trainers to them, or the curricular knowledge that they are given with or prescribed with. Lastly, we also see Jem Oglu and Daxter showing us a study in the FL context where they are looking at the more narrative link between Gen AI use and it's sort of shaping teachers' pedagogical affordances. And the Palgrave Encyclopedia of Computer Assisted Language Learning is eventually highlighting the gap that we usually have started to talk about between teacher decisions and the emergence of AI and the shifts that are coming up, while sort of promoting that this notion is there, but it needs to be studied collaboratively and together. Finally, where does this TSOP or teacher sense of plausibility gets placed in the teacher cognition? So usually when we talk about teacher cognition, as Simon Bog says, that every teacher goes to the classroom to do certain actions, right? It's a plan. We also always notice the doing of the teachers, but there's a lot unobservable sort of mechanisms that are operating into their heads, body languages, that we often ignore. So those unobservable or seemingly which we can't really see in the doing part of the teachers are usually comes into the teacher cognition area. So within this TSOP, it has been a marginalized context since 1987, where NS Prabhu through the Bangalore project showed that how it's a varied a perceptual yet intuitive understanding of the teachers. But later on, works came up with different sort of definitions. So this has been one of my critiques about the existing TSOP research, that which definition do young researchers pick up? Do we look at how it's just a conceptualization of how language teaching works? Do we look at how personal theory of teaching works to and believe it to be TSOP? Or do we just think of it as teacher perceptions, like Young in 2025 is saying? So eventually, I decided to get some clarity and operationalize this sense of plausibility construct. And I did a meta analysis of the existing research, this and more, and reported it in this paper around GTA. And I also looked at the intuition literature, and I found out that especially in language education context, there's a huge dearth of intuition related research. It's much recently in 2023, we have started to talk about it more explicitly. Finally, what is TSOP? So TSOP is actually an intuitive understanding of a teacher. And what is a TSOP model? How does it work? How does it get framed? How do we tap into it? And let's talk about it. So I'm presenting a TSOP four-stage model, which has four stages. The first one is called forming impressions. Imagine the teacher's brain, and just imagine your interaction with the teachers, and whatever they'll speak, those outputs usually will have either perception of the teachers or beliefs of the teachers or personal theories of the teachers, attitudes of the teachers, or maybe just some intuitive understandings as well, right? So the first stage is about uncovering all these different dynamics of teachers complex cognitions or mental mix based on the school and the college level. So we need information about digital technology, that what was the digital exposure or tools that was available to teachers when they were students in their schools and college levels, right? Then this is also a stage where they are informally observing their own teachers, observing their own mechanisms and seeing what is working for them and what is not. Stage two requires information about their teacher training exposures, where the learning is getting more formalized, whether somebody has done a BA in English literature or have done later on some teaching course, right? So stage two will be limited to their first and recent teacher training exposures, where they are finally doing a trial and error method between what they have learned in the school and college and what actually might be a possibility or acceptable in teacher training or education or not. And finally, in the stage three is called jobs taking over, which, as the term indicates, places their insights about the context that they are sitting in, the job, their routines that are impacting them. The other factors, whether it's the culture, whether it's the student and their multiple intelligences and things like that. So whatever issues, challenges, and achievements that they are facing in their job regarding technology, whether they are able to afford it or not, and things like that would be captured at stage 3. And finally, stage 4 talks about that an accumulation of all this knowledge from 3 stages come together for teachers to form a developing understanding, which is open to change for more exposure, about what technology might work in my classroom and what not. Right. So that understanding, which is a combination of both system 1 and system 2 processing, which is analytical as well as intuitive processing, comes together to form this understanding and gives us a sense of plausibility of teacher about how digital language teaching takes place in their classrooms. Right. So now, how does it translate into praxis? Great, it's a theoretical model that you have derived from the existing research, but how does it work? So I tried to test it in a small case study where my objectives were to know about the issues and challenges that these teachers that were part of my research face, and how does their TSOPs look like? What does this understanding look like? Where does it emerge from? How does it get articulated into their classroom? And finally, whether reflecting on their TSOPs
Yes, sir.
enables teachers to sort of feel more confident or have enhanced digital literacy or not. So for this case study, I included 10 teachers from who are dealing with grades third to fifth, and they were part of the New Delhi government schools in India. And the tools that I used to collect different insights from these stages were life history task, RPD model, assessment group discussions. And I'll tell how, in my abstract, I also mentioned that I'll tell you a few tasks that you could utilize to tap into this overall understanding or measure this overall understanding. So the first one is the my life history of teaching task, which is basically a life history approach where you ask teachers several questions about these stages. For example, what were the key people who has impacted their understanding of technology since school till today, right? Or what was the kind of literature that they were exposed to, if at all that shaped their digital understanding or not? Then what were the major factors that are impacting at them at their workplace to implement digital pedagogy to begin with in their classrooms? And what is the advice that they'd like to give, right? Do they feel there's a best method or there's a best technological tool that works into their classrooms? What are those? So it's sort of mapping their life history since their school experience till today, and later, and how different forces have shaped their cognitions and understanding, right? Task 2 is the field wheel, which is a mood assessment by Oxford CBT, which actually tells us when they are going to stage 3, when they're working, when the job is taking over, what are the major emotions that they are feeling, right? The affect element of their job. And then we are looking at what kind of decisions they are making through RPD model. For example, let's say a teacher chooses to use multilingual songs in her classroom, in the next classroom, right? This is the situation that she's dealing with. And the first instances or the thoughts or the imprints that she'll get in her head will be the cues that are telling her. For example, she thinks that my learners may not really understand a bilingual song. Let me use some multilingual songs altogether. And these cues are sort of telling her some patterns that, yeah, using multilingual songs is comparatively better as compared to bilingual songs when I'm dealing with multilingual children, right? Or using songs from the particular context is better, as we usually teach teachers to, right? And then these sort of patterns are asking teachers to assess and decide whether what action they will take into their classrooms, right? So now when the teacher is reflecting on, should I use bilingual, should I use multilingual, will it be better for children, will it be better for me as a teacher or not? And then finally is taking a decisions which is affecting this situation and hence the classroom. So that is called the intuitive decision making model, which is also called the recognition decision primed model by Gary Klein. Next task can be a traffic light model. Let's say a teacher is planning the activity and they again have to just reflect and mention yes or no in front of the analysis or the intuition. And then they can perhaps look at this, that if their intuition is saying no and analysis is also saying no, probably they should reconsider their decision that they're taking for their classroom, right? And lastly, they can also analyze their lesson plans, that if they have made lesson plans or if they do reflect during their classroom, they can note down the important intuitive instances that they have felt during their classrooms. We usually sort of shut down and do not really listen to these voices because of the routines, but we if we start noting it down, it can reveal various important insights. All right, so these are the few ways where which can come together. For my study, I used my life history of teaching task, the mood assessment, as well as the RPD model, and insights from all these tools are coming together to tell us what exactly the TSOPs look like. So I said there are three objectives. One was the issues and challenges that they are facing. So few of the common issues and challenges that I have found that they were facing was related to the digital divide. That these schools are usually looked at low resource context, and they are usually supplied the learning kits, but the teachers are doing their best by using their phones, and some of them also use their laptops. Second one was lack of resources, just because they're thought of as not really having all the resources at place does not mean that they do not have the means and ways to sort of deal with it. But digital resources and their accessibility and affordances does play a biggest issue in this context. And finally, the workload and the paperwork. The workload and paperwork is so much that they do not feel like even checking out what are the digital tools that they have or the solutions that they have for their classrooms. And a second is that their TSOPs related to digital pedagogy, right? So let us see what their TSOPs look like, what is happening. So the insights from the stage one tells us that clearly these were the teachers which half of them are very, very old and experts. It's been 20 and 40 years that they're teaching. Some of them are very freshmen, right? So it's a combination of both of them coming together. So the senior teachers are not at all interested into using a lot of digital technology into their classrooms, whereas the freshman ones are trying and they are pretty keen to sort of ease down their work as well as bring innovation into their classrooms. So the forming impressions, so in their school and college times, there were a few insights that I could tap into, which was that to begin with, rather than technologies, they all of them did not have exposure to English. Yes, I'm wrapping up in a minute. And then sports commentary and cartoons were the common things that were used in their time. Teaching exposures in their teaching training courses, they were told about ICT tools to gamify their classrooms, and what was told to them was just engage the learners. And some of them also use YouTube channels and podcasts to learn. Further, jobs taking over at their job, they have multilingual struggles. Students are of multiple intelligences, so they don't know how to deal with it. They usually use digital tools to facilitate communication. And then eventually their TSOP is suggesting that it is something, digital pedagogy is something which is available and affordable to learners, which takes learners from known to unknown, which is flexible and which is available into the learner surroundings and which complements the existing teaching. Finally, how does it get utilized? Some teachers use YouTube videos in their classroom, some learn from podcasts, some use AI to plan their lessons, and some use Google Classroom for records. Finally, what are the implications? That please, as far as we are doing research around technologies, let us do that much around teacher cognitions as well. They are students as well. Let us focus on their life history rather than giving them a new tool. Let's figure out what kind of knowledge is. That's what TPEC also tries to sort of suggest, right? Let us know what do they already know. And finally, think of their thinking and expect the unexpected. Does not mean that we have taught one tool to the teacher. They will be very motivated in everything. We need to be prepared of their reactions. And more tools does lead to technological paralysis, research abundance. So there has been a lot of research around newer tools, right? But does that mean that it gets reflected in teachers' classrooms as well as research? We need to think more. So with that, thank you so very much for giving me time and listening to me.